This is Eric Wayne with United Realty Group. Be more specific, we're not selling the corporation, we're only selling assets. That's generally what we are responsible for. Generally, people don't want to buy the corporation unless they're looking for a visa or there's contracts that are in the company name, so they would need to own the company to transfer the contracts without disturbing the transaction. So as far as assets are concerned that generate sales, that have expenses, that generate a profit for one owner, that's how things are calculated. There is a formula, and I'm going to show you that formula. We can choose to disregard it. It doesn't work if we disregard it. We want to get you the best deal possible. I know what the market is. We deal with buyers all day long. I'm a listing agent. I work with the seller. You know, we could ask for anything. I could ask for so much. But just like when you go to sell a home, there is a marketplace. You know, you're in a community. It's a 4-bedroom with a pool on the lake, certain square footage. What does the realtor do? They look back at other solds that are similar bedroom, similar age, similar pool, similar what we call comparables. And we try and get the nearest 3 to 5, some odd number, that are similar, that's sold recently within that period of time. Call it 3 to 6 months for residential. What we do with businesses is we try and do the same thing, but we're not discussing bedrooms and carpet and pools. We're discussing the adjusted net, the furniture, fixtures, equipment, and inventory. That's what we're selling. If a business doesn't generate a profit, it's not worth any more than the actual assets because the assets are not generating a profit. So I always tell my owners, you're not generating money with the assets. What are the eBay value of the FFE, furniture, fixtures, equipment, and inventory? That's what it's worth, and that's what they sell for. They trade at that value. When a business has a profit, and I see here a $200,000 profit, now I'm assuming that's one owner working full-time, okay? If it's not, I need to know. If there's a spouse involved, it changes things. But let's assume $200,000. The question becomes, how much does somebody need to spend to have a $200,000 a year job where it makes sense financially? At $3 million, it makes 0 cents. You'll have 0 chance of selling at $3 million. The interest on a loan for $3 million will absorb that $200,000, and there will be no $200,000 lifestyle. So the $3 million, I don't know where that came up with. I haven't seen your furniture, fixtures, and equipment and inventory that you're including in the transaction. If you give me a few minutes, I will show you how businesses are sold. I will show you the ones that were successful in being sold. Only 20% of the listings that are professionally managed, guys like me that do this for over 30 years, actually have a chance of getting sold. It's an extremely difficult process to go through, and I'm going to explain part of it. They go through your tax returns, they go through your ad back, they go through a process, okay? We can discuss that later. But for right now, I'll just show you what the successful ones, the ones that had to agree to what the buyers and the marketplace, what they did to be successful and to get sold. They may have started at crazy numbers too. They sold. So let me show you those. This is a database of what we call the BBF, the Business Brokers of Florida Association. It's the largest business brokers association in the country, and I'm a member for almost its entire life. What we do, we look at the solds. I'll show you the listings also, which you'll find quite interesting to see what that money would offer in today's marketplace, and you'll understand people don't need to spend $3 million to make $200. And it's going to make sense hopefully in a few minutes. And hopefully it's not the $3 million that was interesting you, it was selling that was interesting you. If it's selling that interests you, I can get that done. If it's the $3 million, consider this just education. I'm going to pull up all the solds in all the categories here. We have categories after categories after categories, and we shop the categories that are sold, the time frame recent to when, how far back do we have to go to find a comparable? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or is there anything in that county like yours? Those are the kind of questions that I look at. What was the adjusted net? What was the sales price? Is it one owner, 2 owners? How are we going to prove these numbers? Is there cash? Is it on the tax return? So many different questions. All these different categories of businesses in all 67 counties. I can sort it by county, and I can sort it by business type. I can also go back by date. I can go back 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, but I need more specifics on the business. So I'm going to leave it open for all years, everything in the database. I can also do a search by adjusted net. You have 200, so I'm going to do a minimum to get rid of the smaller businesses. You're doing 2.5 in sales. I'm going to put a maximum sales of 2.5. I don't want to show a $10 million grossing business compared to a 2.5. So these are the kind of things that we compare to. Also, there are different sources of proving the financials. So this would be a filter also for who I'm comparing you to. If somebody is provable on their tax returns, that's worth more than where it says an estimate or pro forma or non-operating or just the assets. So I have to understand how we're planning on documenting to a buyer to command the $3 million. Let's just throw that number out there. And then I can also show you with comments. It'll describe more detail about the business. But for right now, I just want to show you what's in the sold database in the BBF. And you will see it's alphabetized. You will see all of these pages of solds. What does that tell you? That tells you that this is, number one, the right place to get it sold. Number two, that professionals like myself know what we're doing. We advertise on dozens of retail sites. We have 2 associations that we advertise in. All the agents that sold these businesses work with me. So when I get a listing, it goes in my active database. They see it in the active database. Their buyers say, hey, I'm interested in a landscaping lawn business that makes 200 or more, or 150, 100 or more. What do you have in inventory? And you would be in my inventory until we got it sold. And for that, we split the commission with the buyer's office if I'm not the buyer's office. And majority of the time I have my own buyers because I have a database of almost 10,000 buyers from over the years that are looking for specific types of businesses with profits in different counties and so forth. We save all of our buyers. It's over 33 years worth of buyers. But you can see every category here: nursery, plants. These are all the solds, kennels, pet grooming. I'm going to show you the solds. Let's get to what pertains to you. All counties, because I don't want to narrow it down. I want to show you the valuations more important than geographic. Which one of these 5 and these 5 and these 5? I know it's lawn maintenance, landscaping, irrigation, and tree service. I need to know specifically, do you want me to click on which one? Is it commercial, landscaping, residential, all 3 of them, just the one? I need more detail. So I'm just going to leave the entire group for right now so that we can do a quick study. I'm going to say all sources of data. Let me just show you what comes back in the way of solds. Lawn gardening supplies, that doesn't sound like you. Residential repairs, that doesn't sound like you. But then I have residential, I have 1,048 of them. It's not going to let me do anything with this because there's too many of them. Show me the ones that make 50 grand a year profit to one owner for 1 year or more. This is the one owner for 1 year profit. That could be on your tax return. It could be partially on your tax return and partially owner approved, meaning maybe there's some cash that didn't go through the bank statements. We forgot to put it on the tax returns. There's all sorts of things that happen. We can discuss how we handle that. It's very common. Let me just show you all. They're sorted by their value of adjusted net. Nobody cares about the sales, although they care about the sales just to see what the percentage of safety is. In other words, what altitude do they need to fly to make that profit? And are they too close to the ground in order to have a safe margin there? So they want to know you're working on a margin comparable to the industry's margin. And I'm going to show you what that is right now. These are not comparable all to you, obviously. I want to get down to the nearest 5 or 10 or however I can. So there's some things I still need information on. I need the categories. I'm going to calculate just to show you. See the sold price versus adjusted net? Well, the adjusted net now moved over to this category. The way that this business was sold, and it took 65 days on the market to achieve 1.9 times the 50. It sold for 95. These are the numbers that I concern myself with. If you're making 200 and you're asking 3 million, you're asking 15 years, 1 year's adjusted net. And just to show you how out of line that would be, you see how they're selling. They're all under 2 years' earnings. Here's 2.8. This was a high number. We have to look at it and see what kind of inventory and furniture. A brand new $100,000 tractor might have been included. But something kicked this number up, something kicked this number up, and this number higher than the average. You can see that these numbers are not 15 years. By the time they would have to take out the loan or use cash, if somebody had that kind of money, there are other opportunities. They could buy any one of these. Let's just say it that way. They could buy any one of these at 1.3 times earnings, 2.2 times earnings, 1.65 times earnings. It was earning 56. It sold for 130. So let's get to the bigger numbers so you'll see it's the same thing. 0 chance of ever getting 15 years earnings. This was 3. This is an anomaly. There's no others that are at 3. Here's 6. Same thing. They were making 172 and it sold for 1.1. You're making 200, you're asking 3 million. And this is the highest I've seen on this whole category. And that's okay. You know, you can ask for whatever you want. It's just, if you're serious about selling, We have to be realistic. The average of this group, and again, these are not comparable to yours and these industries are not exactly yours, but it's not going to make a huge difference. 1.73 times earnings. On 200 adjusted net, I don't see how you're going to get over $400,000. And you're not getting all cash. The average was 87%, and it took 232 days on average to achieve these numbers. Let's go back to get a different search. Here's maximum $2.5 million. Let's compare you to at least the gross that's comparable. Sort it by the adjusted net. Adjusted net is here. There's 797 of them. You can see, let's see which category the adjusted net is. Adjusted net is this category. If you're here with the 200s, once we identify which category, you can see where the sales prices are. That's how it's going. You don't see 3 million here. It's never going to happen. If you are serious about selling, we will be more narrow with these categories. And I'll go back with time frames because I don't want to compare you to businesses that sold 20 or 18 or 15 years ago. I want to show you here 1.9, 2.4. These are our averages. Here's the adjusted net. Now, if I go to just as an overview with all these categories that we did select, let me show you 200. All right, let's lock in on, at least I know the adjusted net you have. The 200s, here, 2.8, 2.4, only a quarter of a year, 2 years earnings, 2 years earnings, 2 years earnings. These look like the same listing though. This one, I think he put it under 3 different categories. 1.8, 2.9. So what I would want to do, if these were all the right categories, I would take this whole group and get an average for you of how much the adjusted net was and what they actually sold for. And that would be my average recommendation if these are recent. Because the marketplace 20 years ago and the marketplace now. And also, I can narrow it down by county if I have an abundance of those. So I could do county, time frame, category, and the multiplier of the adjusted net. But just so we're clear, none of them sold for 15 years earnings. None of them sold for 10 years earnings. Because financially, it makes 0 sense for someone to buy it at that rate. The average of this whole group, $50,000 or more, gross under 2.5. No one is buying the gross. But the gross shows the size of the business. And why is that important? It's important because it shows this number, the adjusted net to sales. So what they're saying is this average of 1.35 of this group, which is low for you, and I would need to get rid of the smaller ones to bring this number up. And here too, obviously, I get to bring it up. They're saying the sold price to sales and the adjusted net. This group, they're making about 42% on every dollar they're keeping. So if you're making 200 on 2.5, if this was your group and if this was your time frame, your percentage is much lower than the average, which makes you less desirable. We would have to look at that because the group is at 42% to the owner, and you're keeping 200 on 2.5, which is less than 10%. That's going to be an issue. And then on top of it, you're commanding or asking for $3 million, which, as you see, doesn't happen. Here's 87% down payment, 2.30. That's how it works. Now, let me show you what's active. Let me show you what they can consider that makes 200 grand a year or more. And then you'll see when they're shopping, just like when they're shopping for a car, someone wants 3 million or somebody wants a competitive number. Let me go to active listings here in Florida. Now, again, I could do this by county. I could do it by type. Let me just look up landscaping real quick. Let's say somebody wants to make 100 grand a year or more. How much should it cost them? Okay, that's really the question. That's the round table discussion. Okay, that's the kitchen table discussion. Honey, I need a business. I'm tired of corporate America. How much do we have to pay for a business? Here, we have 43 of them in Florida. Guys making 102. Now, this is not proved numbers. The brokers do not substantiate or audit these numbers. These are claims of the owner. We won't know until it actually sells. But these are asking prices. I know what the sold prices are, and I know these are all high. They're all high. So don't consider this to be fair market value. These are starting prices that are high. Unreasonable sellers or uneducated or unmotivated or agents that just took a listing at any price. That kind of stuff is what's in here because these did not sell. These are a wish. People, get me $10 million. If I wanted to tomorrow to make 102, I could pay $279 for a landscaping business in Miami. For 107, I would pay $349. I can get it for $250, I bet you. 109, I can get it for $185 without any negotiations, no offers, nothing. 109, this guy is crazy high. Crazy high. That's never going to sell. There's nothing to back. No one's going to pay 11 years to make this earnings. Because then if you had to pay this, you're not earning 109. The cost of the money, either from a bank or opportunity costs, has a. If you have to borrow money on your home, you'd have to pay it back, and it's going to eat up this money. This is unrealistic. Here they're asking 4 years earnings. I know that that's unrealistic. And this is why businesses do not sell. 80% of them, 4 out of 5, do not sell. This is a perfect example as to why. Here's almost 5 years earnings. It's not going to sell. This guy's more realistic, but is it a good business? Is it local? Those are the questions that come up. For $99,000, you can make $131. Here, let's go to the bigger numbers. How much does it cost me to make $200? Well, here's $675. That's not going to sell either. That's 3.5 years earnings. Retail, total retail. What this does, it motivates someone to go build their own business. If you had $675,000, you're better off just opening up your own landscaping business and making less the first year and not spending $675. You can spend a lot of money on marketing to make $200, a lot cheaper than $675. So here's $399. That's more realistic. $500, that's 2 years earnings. $400, 2 years earnings. Here, this guy's high for the profit, and so forth. But here we are. We'd be competing against this guy or this guy. He wants $555. $559, but we know what they're selling for. Again, this is just the open market. This is never going to sell for 1.5. This is never going to sell for 1.5. This is an agent that is listening to the owner and hoping that they soften up or become more motivated, but they don't really stand a chance for over 3 years earnings. Unless there's major equipment, maybe there's a building, maybe there's real estate. You got to look at each one individually. 2.6 million to make 400 based on what I just showed you. I don't see it. 2.9 to make 600. They want 5 years earnings, work for free for 5 years, and maybe you'll make your money back. And then who cares about making my money back? I want to make money on my money. Why does it have to take 5 years for me to work for free to first get my money back? If we get more specific, I can help you out. Hopefully this helped. I just had a roofing business for 3 years that I had listed. He started at $4 million. Why was he at $4 million? Because he was grossing $4 million. And he couldn't comprehend that people don't care about the gross. They were caring about the lifestyle. The adjusted net for one owner in the previous 1 year that's provable. That's what they want to see. And then it's a multiplier of that number based on what the solds are and based on level of motivation for the buyer and the seller. But it took me 18 months for him to first sit down and listen to me about the comparables. That was before I used to do the videos that I'm doing now. It took him 18 months to actually listen and realize that he wasn't getting his $4 million. He came in at 600, and then his financials were a mess. It took 4 months to get financials with multiple accountants. We had him under contract, and then those numbers didn't come out to the buyer's satisfaction. Anyhow, they agreed at 525, and I think he was making about 300. The 300 in profit, adjusted net, he wanted 4 million for. You see how that could be so unrealistic. But that's what the seller wanted. For 3 years, I hung in there, and I did my job, and he eventually sold, and he's now retired. It's a shame to have to go through all that. All right, my man, thank you. I'm here for you. Hope this helped. Let's narrow down on these subcategories. Give me, the ones that are most accurate, and I can run a new search. And what I'll do is I'll try and go back 3 years, 5 years. I'll go back far enough so that I get enough comparables so I can be more accurate with you. If you want to sell, I'm here to help you sell. Have a good night. Bye-bye.